Hey everybody, Talls here. We're going to be doing a new player analysis on the newly released Anniversary Rin. So let's kind of jump right into it. I think at level 50, he is basically unusable as a support. You can, or especially for intelligence, you can maybe justify using him for physical. As you can see, he gives that fixed and that regular buff, but it's really not that good. He's missing special lecture. He's missing just regular he's missing special lecture, special training, grade bonus, any constant boost, even skill up, which is just like all the good stats. Like he's just a stat stick. He's not strong at all. He has a good tile though at 50. Like this is a very good tile at 50 because it can give extra turns and make your runs last longer. And it also has one of the best defensive physical skills in Fortitude here, which I'll talk a little bit more when we get to his level 100. But it is a very valuable thing to assess. The only reason I could see you bringing him is for his at level 50 to a run is for his skill guardian, which can boost the shot block success of the player. This is just we're slowly moving into a meta right now where blocking shots is happening. So skills like this are just going to be necessary, and skills to counteract this are also going to be necessary. But he is just overall outclassed by every other intelligence user pretty much right now, I think, at 50. Like Isagi V2 even has better stats to use than him. Not to mention Mitoma V3 is out. Nico's also gotten buffs, and you've probably, if you've been playing for a while, have him slightly leveled like me or not. But even still, he's still got buffs and has that constant intelligence boost. So even Gagamaru at 50, because he at least comes with extra turns you can get. Pretty much level 50, do not consider him unless you're desperate for a physical support. That is the only thing I think I can think of. But it's fine. Let's go into his level 100. Where things actually become more usable here. So, as you can see, he gives that 60%. He's got that skill up. It's level 5, which is really strong. It's very important. He gets that 100% lecture. He gets training at 25, a training bonus at 25%, which is higher than most. Most is like 15, I think, right now. And then lastly, he gets this C-Zone gold activation rate. So, into the world, the game mode that everybody should be training on right now. I don't like even new players should be training on it as soon as you unlock it. There are 3 statuses of zone. You've got blue, red, and gold/yellow, whatever you want to call it. This will boost during the last term the gold chance by 2%, which the gold flow will last shorter, but will give you a lot more inspiration bonuses in order to like fill out the inspiration boost meter and give your tiles like a lot more juice to them. So this is a very like important skill, and I think only one other card in the game has that right now. So it's important to consider. The other big thing that I want to note is the celebration tiles. They're good. They're like the purples in that they can give you a random chance to give you an extra turn. And then they're also like the green tiles where it'll recover your condition. However, this one will jump to like extreme or awakening most of the time. And this is kind of different than the green tiles. So the green tiles will generally bring you from like good to best or not good to good or like best to extreme, and then like the black green tile can bring you from extreme to awakening, but those are just like a gradual. This is like it'll skip, right? So this is kind of almost like Is there a tile? Oh, it's kind of like a little more RNG version of like the Christmas Chigiri tile that'll jump you to straight to awakening, right? So it's kind of like this, but he gets two of these. So he's got three tiles that give you a chance at turns, and then his face tile, which I'll talk about in a second. But it's probably why he doesn't have a special ability of actually giving extra turns out. You can see these are only for him when he's being trained. And then lastly, you've got his face tile, which is like a really good face tile. If you're familiar with the Rin V2 face tile, it's the same tile, but it gives you a different skill and does different stats. You always get that extra turn with this tile. And then now, after the most recent patch, they've made it so that this face tile does not consume condition when you're in Extreme or Awakening, which makes it so that you can just hit, like if you roll this a couple times with like inspiration and good luck, you can kind of just hit even higher numbers and get extra turns. So we'll talk about game control here, the skill that he gets. During a match, if this player's in the midfielder or defender zone, it can activate and it'll boost the second ball claiming rate. So like when a free ball happens, there'll be like a little cut in, and then generally it's whoever has the highest physical gets the ball, but there are certain skills like this one, Ravenous, and I think there's other like gray skills that will boost your chance at getting the ball. So this one's really strong, though it can only be activated twice, and then it boosts technical, which it makes sense for like intelligence characters, but his whole kit is like boosting like physical and intelligence, so it's really weird that this one boosts technical, but kind of have to just deal with that. Oops, accidentally went back in slides instead of forward. So now we have to kind of consider, well, where does he fit then in a team composition? Like when I'm training a new intelligence unit or a new physical unit, who is he competing with, right? As you can see, he really, in intelligence, really competes with Mitoma V3. And I'm going to be honest, guys, he gets crushed by him. This character here came out much later in JP, and we got him really early. So he is way more specialized in actually training intelligence, as you can see. The constant boost. All these are like intelligence boosting, and then he still has that same special lecture rate, and he's got the grade bonus, which the bum Rin does not have. And then he's also got a strong face tile. He also gives these gold inspirations, which are very strong. They just boost all of your stats or your intelligence by a lot. So he is very, very good. He also gives extra turns when you obtain one of the intelligence one. So there's that. He also competes with Isagi V3, and honestly, Isagi V3 is going to give you a little bit more consistency with your runs. Rin's going to be a much more high rolling unit as a friend, because you're going to be kind of hoping to just kind of keep hitting the extra turns over and over again and kind of praying. But Isagi V3 just has like a much better spread. He's got the lecture. He's got 130 towards mental imagery and special training. He's got a phenomenal skill in Game Maker here that you can get from his tile that just boosts all of like the intelligence stats that you want. He also gives midfield compatibility, which is pretty useful if you're using an intelligence unit in the midfield. So yeah, it's pretty tough competition, and unfortunately it doesn't get really easier on the physical side. So recently, and I'll be making another video on this, but they released a set of buffs. They buffed the hell out of physical. Like they buffed so many physical units. Kunigami being one of them. So now he has probably the best tile in physical for a player, since it can give extra turns and it provides amazing might. He also, when his gold skill procs, gives turn extensions. So he just has like an overall better like supporting for physical. They also buffed his special lecture bonus too. And then even then Rin probably also loses out to Adam. Adam has like a lot more consistency with his runs, right? Like he's got the lecture rate and the special training and the special lecture, and he can give additional turns. And now when he gives out his skill, you enter Awakening. So it's really tough for Rin. If you have some of these units maxed or higher level, then I would consider Rin for physical for sure. He does bring a lot to the table for that. Mainly it's just all the extra turns he can give, or possibly give. So honestly, consensus for pulling him is one-off. He is in the permanent pool, so a one-off copy isn't terrible. But like, if you don't pull him before the banner ends, that's probably fine. If you're whaling, it's a different story. You're gonna want him as a whale. He boosts physical really well. He slots perfectly into the already like juiced up intelligence stat as is. But again, he himself is pretty rough early on level wise, right? So for free to play players and stuff, think of him as a more long term project, and use him as a friend as needed. But it's not all downhill for him because he can always be played as a player, right? So let's kind of take a good look at to why I think he is, for free-to-play players and low spenders, I think he is a phenomenal pickup as a one-off for player. And this is mainly due to intelligence being one of the easiest stats to train. I just showed you Mitoma V3. He just puts in so much work for most characters. And there's so much intelligence in the game now. But he links with Shido, Raichi, Bachira, Zantatsu, Tokumitsu, and Aryu. And he brings to life these other defenders like no other with these skills. All right, so jumping in, we've got Retreat here, which will reduce the technical of all the opponents, which is really good because a pure intelligence defender, they will have like a certain threshold of technical, but it won't be nearly as much as somebody who is only training for technical, so you will lose matchups early on in a match, but this can help make that not happen. And then it also greatly boosts the intelligence of Aryu in this case, which is really strong because Aryu has a rainbow intercepting alt, which is based on intelligence, and also it would just help for shot blocking because that's also based on intelligence. So this is a really strong skill. This skill, Overload, is just insane. I don't even know how to describe. This brings so much life to Tokumitsu. So it literally will just greatly boost the physical of Tokumitsu, and then it'll boost the stamina, and then slightly reduce the physical of all opponents. Physical is already a stat that like is hard to train. So this will just edge you out in those like matchups like no other. It's very, very good. It makes Tokumitsu like honestly a decent midfielder to just like push through and like make sure that the ball is getting carried up the field now. Then you also have super speed sprint with Zantatsu. So this is a skill that requires a little bit more strategy behind. You need to put this on a team where you know you're going to lose probably the first goal, and so that would be a non-kickoff slot. This will greatly boost the speed and intelligence for the player for a certain time, which is just good for Zantatsu because he's generally a speed defender. So the intelligence will help with shot blocks, and getting a lot of extra speed will make it so that like you can win the speed matchup, which is so difficult to win these days because it's so close all the time. The next skill, Shadow Striker, it just boosts stats after they get a pass. It's okay. It's a little bit better. It'd be better if like two midfielders and passing the ball around was a better strategy, but unfortunately, it's just not how the current metagame is. This could be better down the line, but no, this one's not that great. However, this one here, Intensity, is so good. As I mentioned before, when you're training intelligence characters, they will have like stats and technical, but it won't be as high. Well, this will make it so that your stats are greatly boosted if they have more of you or more than you. So if they have more technical, then you get a technical boost and you could possibly win out and move it to a free ball or something like that. And then the last one, Determination. It reduces the shot block success rate of all opponents, boosts your rate, and then boosts the kick power. This one's phenomenal too. This makes midfielder Shido like even stronger. And yeah, I mean, like that's good. Like he has a lot of great links in the match slot, but now you have to consider what are his alt and his gold skill, right? Well, his gold skill is not Guardian as a player, but it is. Who do you think you're talking to? And it's really good for midfielder defense position, which is basically where you're playing intelligence characters. You're never playing them anywhere else. It'll give him extra kick power and shot range, which makes it so that like if he was a midfielder, he could probably score the ball a little bit more. This also does help a bit too, like on defense, if he manages to get the free ball, because then he could maybe take a shot and score. And that synergizes with his alt here because it boosts his intelligence, kick power, shot success, and shot range. So basically, I think the idea behind him as a character is as a defender, he can get like a loose ball. And then because his gold skill gives him extra shot range, if he triggers his alt, which he more likely will because he's an intelligence character, he might just be able to like score you free goals every now and then. So he is pretty like good as a player. He links up super well with many of the characters right now. He brings life into like basically dead characters like Aryu and Tokimitsu. He excels. He makes fucking Shido even crazier. That guy's just he's the main character at this point, or he's a main character at this point. And then I will say, lastly, you do have to consider that he will be competing with Rin V2 in team composition slots. So for people who have Rin V2 at 100, it makes it harder to slot Annie Rin into your team compositions unless you have another really strong striker. So that is something that I do want to put in the back of your minds because Rin V2 is just still the best forward at the moment. And then lastly, before you really decide if you want to pull, I do want to note there are upcoming physical and intelligence characters. And like I said before, he is in the permapool, but the next two intelligence characters, one is going to be coming out towards the end of February. That's going to be the Rayo over here. And the other one's probably going to be coming out like a month later. And that's Sakura Sagi. I think that's what he's referred to as. They're both limited time for a month. And they're going to be better training partners. But if you haven't been saving for a while, they're definite skips because they're limited. Now, Raichi, on the other hand, is probably going to be the best physical support we get, and I will be covering that when he comes out. Hopefully he comes out like either sometime next month, because we really need him. So yeah, he'll probably outshine Rin quite a bit, but as I said, Rin, once he starts once he's like at level 65 at the very least, he'll be fine like to use and support supporting. You won't need him as a friend slot anymore. So there's that. Yeah, these are the next upcoming characters for those specific stats. And that's pretty much it. Annie Rin basically kind of got shafted by Mitoma, which is fine. I mean, it happens. And I think he's just a good long-term project overall. And that's pretty much it. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, and I look forward to making the video on all the crazy buffs that they just did. So yeah, see ya.